Hey everybody, thank you for joining me. I've got some things to show you today, some things that I've added to my collection recently. I've got little bits of news about things that are coming up. So I hope that you'll stick with me for however long this video turns out to be. I really don't know whether it's going to be a long one or not, but we shall see. Now this is actually the first video I've done for quite a while. I've been out of action during January. I had an operation on my shoulder and it's just kind of wiped me out for January. So the last video that I did where I showed off my new record cleaning machine, I actually recorded that nearly a month ago, but hung on to it for a while because I knew I was going to be out of action. But I'm kind of getting back into it. Not got much movement there, but we're getting there slowly. So, what have I got over the last month or so? I'm going to show you a few vinyl records, a few CDs, some books and things that I've picked up along the way. Some of them might be of interest to you. Some of them I've got some stories about, and I've also got a little bit of news, like I say, about something that I've got coming that could be quite an interesting story that you will not have heard before, I guarantee. So, where do I start? Well, I'm going to start with a book. I got this for Christmas, actually, but I've not shown it yet. It's something that a few people had mentioned to me as something that they had and they really liked, and it's called The Beatles, Drugs, Mysticism and India. It's by Paul Mason. I think this book's been out a few years, but I hadn't heard of it until just recently. And basically, it kind of, if you're interested in the history of the Beatles and the sort of Indian connections through George, stuff that they did with the Maharishi, then it's kind of all in here. I haven't had a chance to read it yet because, you know, there's other reading material out there that's taken priority in January. You know what I'm talking about, McCartney Legacy, of course. But this looks like it's going to be really interesting, so I hope to get round to it soon. It sort of kicks off with, it starts appropriately with Help, when they were filming the movie Help. And of course there was the Indian restaurant scene, and that was what spurred George's mind in the direction of Indian music. It's got a real big diary, like a day-by-day diary of the events in Rishikesh from people who were there, their recollections of everything that was happening. So that takes up a good portion of the book. But then it continues on as sort of picking up all sort of things that were in the press, in the news, things that happened right up till about 2009, where it's got anything to do with drugs, mysticism, India and the Beatles. I've noticed things to do with anthology era in there when Paul, George and Ringo got together for that. So it does look like it's going to be really interesting. I'm going to put a link down below if that's something that you're interested in having a look at, if you want to get hold of this. But I'm certainly looking forward to getting round to that once I finish the McCartney Legacy. I'm only still about a quarter of the way through that at the moment. I'm right in the middle of the RAM recording sessions, and it is a fantastic book. I'm going to be really late bringing a full review of that book just because it's going to take me so long to read, but it's beyond anything else, way beyond anything else I've ever read on Paul McCartney. So I cannot recommend the McCartney Legacy enough at the moment. Really enjoying that and looking forward to finishing it and the further volumes that are going to be coming out. So what else have I been picking up? Well, some of it's Beatles related, some of it isn't, so I've got a nice little mixture of things, hopefully something to offend everybody, as I like to say. So I got this recently, Paul Weller, Wild Wood. This was his second solo album from 1993, I think it was. I've had this on CD for nearly 30 years, sort of since it came out, but managed to get it on vinyl. I heard great things about this vinyl repress of Wild Wood, so really happy to have this. It sounds superb. They've done a really good job on this. My one disappointment with this album on vinyl is, if we just look at the track list there, it's just absolutely packed full of great songs start to finish. But on the CD, there's a song called Hung Up right at the end that isn't on the vinyl version. And it's a fantastic song. It's as good as anything that's on there. In fact, there's a live version of Hung Up from Weller at the BBC, which is it's lunchtime Radio 1 show. And it's probably my favourite live version of anything that anybody's ever done. It is magnificent. But anyway, this is a great album. I think, like a lot of people, I didn't necessarily pick up on Weller's solo debut album at the time because he was so far out of the public eye at that point that it took a little while for it to come back. But I think when Wildwood the single came out, that got a lot of press, got a lot of play on the radio, as did Sunflower, both fantastic songs. And well, the rest is history. The career just went from strength to strength from there. Brilliant album, really happy to have that on vinyl. I've then got, there's actually 3 things here that I got from the, a lot of you will know, Super Deluxe Edition website that do lots of great sort of reviews, previews of news and things. They've also got their online shop, and they were doing a sale, and I picked up 3 things from the Super Deluxe Edition sale for a total of, I think this lot came to, these 3 things that I'm about to show you came to under £30 in total. Wings Greatest, which I've got an original Wings Greatest on vinyl, got it on CD as well, of course, but this is the remaster from 2018 from the vinyl reissue series. Please can we have some more of those, Paul? Thank you very much. But I mean, it's just, it kind of, I think, goes under the radar a bit as a classic album in its own right, Wings Greatest, even though it's not actually all Wings here. I mean, Another Day wasn't a Wings song, neither was Uncle Albert, Admiral Halsey, but we'll let him off that. Paul has his own interpretation of what means Wings and what doesn't. And fair enough, it's his band, he can decide what he likes. But it's a lovely piece of vinyl. Look at that. Look. Now, I know I've got a habit of dropping records lately, but that will not drop. You know, I could stay here for a month. That's not going to drop. There's too much static in there. So that is going to get transferred to a polyline sleeve, definitely. But lovely bit of vinyl. That statue there, some of you will know, is a real statue that Paul still owns. I saw it for the first time back in, was it September or October, when I went down to London for the Mark Lewis and Evolver show. It's in Paul's office, Paul's MPL office, Soho Square, London. It's up in the window of Paul's office, is that statue there. So if you're ever in that part of London, if you've not seen it before, worth having a look at. So yeah, still on that Super Deluxe Edition sale. As well as that, I got this booklet that they produced. This is a Super Deluxe Edition original, as you can see by the badge there on the bottom. So this is all about Kate Bush's Before the Dawn concerts of 2014, which possibly the greatest show I've ever seen in my life. I'm so lucky to have gone to that. So it's got a lot of detail about the build-up to the shows, about how it was put together, recollections of the show. Really, really interesting read for anybody who was at those concerts. I'm not sure whether it's still available or not. superdeluxeedition.com. If you have a look there and see whether it's still available, I don't know. And the third thing I got from this bundle, which I say I got the full lot here for about just under £30. This is 2LP Bob Dylan More Blood More Tracks. This was the Bootleg Series Volume 14, based on the Blood on the Tracks session. So as many of you will know, Bob recorded what he intended to be the album in New York, then decided he wasn't too happy with it. Went off to Minneapolis and recorded it again, and that's what then got released. So this is the original New York version of the album, which is largely the same track listing, very, very similar, but completely different versions of the songs. So this is a real nice 2-disc version, and if I just show you the label on this, which is nice. So they call it here the test pressing. So it's a really interesting listen. I still prefer the original Blood on the Tracks album, but this is definitely an interesting alternate listen to one of Bob's finest albums. So they were great things to pick up there. One thing that I didn't show you there in the Wings Greatest is this poster. Look at the size. Look at the size of that. That is a great poster. I think this might have to go up on my wall somewhere, potentially. And then the other side there. So I mean, it's a poster that many of you will have known for decades, but not one that I've owned before. So that's nice to have. So that may well go up on the wall. Ow, sorry, I'm in a bit of pain at the moment, but I'm doing all right. I'm getting there. Now, I had a really interesting trip to my local record shop a few days ago. Revolution Records in Selby. I know I've mentioned them a few times, but there's no other record shops around here, so I don't get to mention any others. And I went straight to their Beatles section, picked out a couple of things, and then, as has happened a couple of times now, Michael, who owns the shop, pointed me in the direction of his secret Beatles cupboard, things that have come in that he hasn't yet sort of sorted and graded and decided how much to sell for. So I found something very interesting in that cupboard, which we'll come on to in a moment. But first of all, I picked these two up. Paul McCartney, All My Trials, obviously from the Trip in the Life Fantastic era, 1990. So I've got the black and the white CD of this. I've had the white CD since the day it came out. The black CD I didn't pick up till years later. But I've never had any of them on vinyl, so that was nice to pick up finally. And Plastic Ono Band, Live Peace in Toronto 1969. It's not John's greatest album by any stretch, but again it's one that's nice to have on vinyl for the first time for me. So it's got some good, I'm sure a lot of you know this album, it's got some good live versions of various tunes on there. So a couple of good pickups, but then like I say, I went and had a look in this sort of secret Beatles drawer, and something immediately grabbed my attention, and it was this. Ringo's Bokus of Blues from 1970. And I thought, ooh, interesting. Do you know what? I've never bought any Ringo on vinyl before. This is my first ever Ringo Starr vinyl. And I saw this, and I saw obviously, I thought, oh, that looks German. Interesting. So we had a look. I said, you're not going to know how much this is yet, are you? And he said, no, I've not decided yet. Not really looked into it. So we decided to get on Discogs website while we were there. We looked up this and realised that this is an original 1970 German pressing of Bokus of Blues. I said, can I have a look at the disc? Just to make sure it's okay. Got the disc out, and honestly, I don't think that this record had ever been played. It's absolutely immaculate. Absolutely perfect. Looks like it's just come out of the pressing plant. So we did a deal that I was very happy with in terms of price on this, and I walked away with those three records, and like I say, delighted to get my first bit of Ringo vinyl. I've played it and it really does sound nice. I mean, it's a good album anyway. I like Bokus of Blues. I think the quality of the musicians that Ringo got on board for that album are not really to be argued with, and there's some very interesting songs on there. So they were some great pickups that I was very happy to get. I've got one more bit of vinyl to show you, which we'll come on to, and a few CDs that I've just picked up just recently, so we'll go through those as well. So this, the reason that I got this was mainly because it was to go as part of my Paul McCartney CD collection, because Paul's on this. Pretty sure he's playing bass on this, and I think you hear him at one point as well on the song. So for those of you that don't know, and you know, if I can't expect, if you're not in the UK, you know, you may well not know about this. This was to raise funds for the sort of, well, it's called the Justice Collective. It's to do with the Hillsborough disaster from 1989. The 9 and the 6 there, 96 fans who were killed during the FA Cup semi-final. Liverpool versus Nottingham Forest. It's actually now sadly 97. Somebody who was ill for a long time as a result of the disaster passed away since this. So this was kind of to raise funds for the families who were doing the campaigning to try and get justice. Little sort of personal story around this was the day that this went to number one, which I seem to remember was around about Christmas time, not bang on Christmas, but it was announced as number one on the Sunday tea time on Radio 1 chart show. And this was put together by John Power from Cast, and that evening I was seeing Cast live in York. And so about an hour after this went to number one, I saw John Power live, who put this together. Being 6 foot away, sort of watching Cast do their stuff is quite a sight, I can tell you. Great band, do not get enough praise at all. So that was really mainly for my Paul McCartney collection. I'm collecting quite a lot of the Now albums, the reissuing the Now albums. This was Now 13 from 1988. I was 16 when this came out. I'll get you the track list there. So there's a lot of stuff on there that is just absolute memories of me as kind of when I was leaving school and starting my way in the big world. So happy to pick that up. Finally got this that came out a few months ago, Paul Heaton and Jackie Abbott. I think this is the 5th album that they've done together. Of course, they were together for a long time in the beautiful South, but now they release albums under their own names as a duo. Their albums are really good. It's just immensely catchy pop. If you've not heard any of it, it's well worth checking out. This isn't my favourite album of theirs by any means yet, but I'm sure it will grow on me, like all the others I've done. And then just a few days ago, I picked up, so I've got both of last year's Red Hot Chili Peppers albums on double vinyl, but I was able to get both of them on CD with change from £10. So I was happy with that, and they do sound really good. The vinyl is superb. The way that that's been pressed, it's been. They were both produced by Rick Rubin, and the mastering on the vinyl is fantastic. But these, as digital versions, do sound really good, which isn't always the case with Red Hot Chili Peppers. Stadium Arcadium, for example, is not a good CD at all, but it's phenomenal on vinyl. Both of these sound really good, so I was pleased to get those for when I'm in a digital mood. Now, something else that I mentioned that I've got something sort of brewing at the moment, something cooking that I've been working on. I'll be bringing it to you soon. I'm trying to piece together a story at the moment, and when I've got the full story and I can bring it to you properly, I will be doing very soon. And it concerns a picture, which I'm going to show you just a little bit of. Some of you might have seen this picture on the internet. Some of you might have got a copy of it, but it's unlikely. I'm just going to show you a little bit of it for today. I'm just going to show you that. Okay, that's as much as you're seeing for now, but it's a long one. It's a long one. I'm talking to the artist who produced this picture, and the story behind it is unbelievable. I was literally jaw on the floor last night when I heard the story about this and the connections, the official connections to the Beatles and Apple and what's gone on with this painting over the years. And I managed to get a reproduction of it. I will be bringing you the full story soon, but it's a very interesting story. I guarantee you haven't heard it before. So another few things I just wanted to show you was I've been getting some high-res downloads to add to my digital collection. So I've been on the Qobuz website and a few things that I've picked up here. So I'm going to show you some screenshots from my iTunes library here. So you can see the Paul Heaton and the Red Hot Chili Peppers there that I mentioned that I'd picked up. But then I got Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers Moaning album, recorded late 1958, released in early 59. Superb jazz album. If you've not heard it before, the first track, Moaning, the title track, really reminds me of the kind of opening to Miles Davis, Kind of Blue. It's very similar. If you like Kind of Blue, then this could be something that you might be interested in as well. So they were selling the album high-res download for £6. Fantastic. I thought, I'm having that. So I've been enjoying that the last couple of days. The new Bob Dylan bootleg series is out. The Fragments Time Out of Mind sessions. I'm hoping to get the big 5 CD box. I haven't got it yet, but I hope to be getting that soon. But I did buy a high-res download, so I've got everything here. Now, the first 2 discs of that are superb. They've done a remix of the main Time Out of Mind album. So the Daniel Lanois produced album, they've remixed it, and it's almost like the Beatles have done with sort of despecterising Let It Be, or George Harrison did with despecterising All Things Must Pass. They've turned it into much more of a kind of an intimate kind of a recording. It's always been swampy has been a kind of a word I've always used for Time Out of Mind. They've really sort of made it feel a bit more like you're in the studio with them. Really enjoying that, and the second disc of outtakes is superb. Still got quite a long way to go to finish that collection, because it only came out a couple of days ago, so I'm still working my way through it, but got all those tracks on high res. And then on Qobuz I found they're doing a sale at the moment. They were doing all 8 studio albums by The Doors in high res for £16. I thought, definitely I'm having that. So we've got the debut album Doors, we've got Strange Days, Waiting for the Sun, Soft Parade, Morrison Hotel, LA Woman. Now I've got the first album and LA Woman on vinyl, so I know those two, but the rest of them, apart from bits of Strange Days, is all completely new to me. So I'm really looking to diving into this. So I've got 8 Doors albums there in full high-res, 16 quid. Really happy with that. I did do a bit of research into what versions of the songs it is, and it looks like it's the Rhino Elektra Records reissues from about 2012. It looks like the vinyl versions of those, that's what they took it from these high-res transfers. Is what I've been able to figure out from what I can see. So yeah, I'm really sort of trying to build a high-res digital library as well, because I've got a real good setup for that on my system now, so trying to make full use of that. So the last bit of vinyl that I've got to show you is, before a couple of other things that I want to tell you. This just came this week. Paul Weller 22 Dreams. Probably should have done this when I did Paul Weller Wildwood, but I didn't. Let's not worry about it. So this was his 2008 album, and this to me has always been like his equivalent of the White Album, really. And I say that because it's long, it's sprawling, and it covers so many different genres. It's kind of all over the place in a good way, a bit like the White Album is. But it's a really interesting album, and look at this for a vinyl package. It's beautiful. Look at that. I mean, how cool does that man look there? That is fantastic. So it's a really nice gatefold album, beautiful bit of artwork. This was reissued last year, so I don't think there was that many of them printed on vinyl in 2008, because of course not many people were buying vinyl then. So I've been waiting for that to come down. It was ridiculously priced. It was like 45 quid when it came out, which I think is silly, but it's gradually come down and down and down, and it came down to 28 quid. A few days ago, so I pounced on that. So really happy to get that. So that's what I've been buying just lately. Another thing that I did just recently, that some of you, if any of you are still watching, thank you. Some of you, if you follow me over on Twitter, might have joined in with my 5th Beatle World Cup. So the World Cups, as many of you will know, are something that I tend to save for my live streams. I'm going to do this as a live stream very soon. It will be probably my next live stream. But we did it over on Twitter. We played it out. The top 16 people, in my opinion, I came up with these names. The top 16 people who I thought might get the label 5th Beatle attached to them. Some of them very tenuously, I might add. But they were kind of there in the Beatles inner circle. And we did it as a Twitter poll over 3 or 4 days, and it was very interesting. There was some absolute whitewashers. There was some really close contests. I'm going to do it as a live stream, but I have a feeling that it's going to play out a little differently as a live stream. I'll explain more when I do the live stream, but I will advertise that on YouTube and on Twitter a day or two before I do it, so that if you want to join, you're more than welcome, because I've not done a World Cup for ages. I think the last one was probably the Revolver World Cup that I did, where everything went disastrously wrong technically, but I think I've sorted that now. Big change to my home network system, which means that live streams should be more reliable from now on, hopefully. So that's going to come soon. So sorry I've been kind of not doing many videos lately, but it's been a combination of I've been out of action because of this operation that I've had, and also our house is just a little bit crazy at the moment. We've got lots of people staying in our house at the moment, and getting a quiet time to do videos has been a bit of a premium. It's Sunday afternoon at the moment. They're all out, so it's been good. So yeah, that's what I've been up to just lately. Let me know your comments down below, as you always do. I'd love to hear if you've got any of this stuff or any thoughts on any of this stuff. Let me know. And I will see you very soon. Once I've got to the bottom of the mystery of this particular painting that I showed you a few minutes ago. It's an interesting story, I promise you. Anyway, I'll see you later. Bye.